So in order to kind of get hold of these points that are closer, or that are 1 and closer to 1, I just created a threshold of, let's say, 0.5, because if you look at the raster value, let's say there are so many, and because it depends on distance, let's say anything above 0.5, and if you apply, and right now it's equal to, because I want to see what 0.4984, which is essentially 0.5, looks like. So if I zoom to that one, you can see it's kind of at the edge. So I think that's a good threshold. So I would choose anything greater than greater than equal to 0.49. So I will apply, and I can see there are 81 points that are, and I will click on show selected records that are above, let's say, 0.5 threshold. So that means along the edges. So you can see the ones that are overlapping the ADA friendly area are also selected here. So within that, we are going to try and find whether there is any potential location that can be adapted or reutilized as an overlook point or not. So let's select these 81 points out of the 1,000 points. So I will right click on this layer and go to data export features. So I will use these 89 records, and I would make this GA friendly, and I would make it raster val 05. So that means these are selected points which has higher raster value. Okay. The next step would be to kind of cross-check with the imagery in the background how these 81 points looks like. So first thing would be going to the select by attribute and checking this point type and equal to, and in this case I'm going to check out any visitor center. And if you look at it, there is one visitor center, and there might be already an outlook point nearby, so doesn't really make any sense, or maybe it does, I don't know. That's the next step to kind of figure out some of the potential. But definitely this is an area which has high potential. The other one would be something like a trailhead, right? So there will be multiple trailheads. So in this case, we have 5 trailheads. So if we look at the 5 trailheads, we see one of them is highlighted here. This looks like a nice area, which is probably a good spot. So in this way, by going through a couple of these point of interest type, I kind of had an idea like what are the type of locations that I can choose from as potentially new observation deck site. So now I will use the select. So that's in analysis tools, extract, select. And then in here, I will use this raster value, GOI raster value 05, and I will make it ADA select. And this is where I will use the expression. So point type is equal to, let's start with bus stop, or point type equal to museum, and or point type equal to, I'll do trailhead, picnic area, and peak. So only these 5 types of points will be selected, and if I run this, I've got this subset of points here. If you open it, you will see I've got 11 points, so kind of narrowed down more with this set of 11 points. Now that I have these 11 points, my potential candidates for overlook site, I want to find out how far I can see from each of these points, how far and how much, right? So that's the question. If you go to the surface tool set here, there are multiple tools called view shed, visibility. That kind of gives the answer, but I'm going to run the observer points. So here, because I want to see how much I can see from each of these points, not a combined surface which these two will generate. So I will go to observer points, and then in the input raster I will click on that GCDEM resample, the original DEM, and then the input observer point feature would be the select GC point buffer ADS select, and here I will name it as observer GC select. Then in the environment, I will go and mask it out to just the buffered area, because I'm not interested to run for the whole image, but just for the buffer area is fine for analysis, because it takes quite a while to run this tool. So if you can narrow it down to smaller area, that's always beneficial. So once you have set the mask here, you can click run. Now you can see you get a surface like this, a lot of colors. What I did was, if you expand the surface, if you select this layer and right click, go to symbology, I changed this primary symbology to unique values. You might have gotten the stretch, change that to unique values, and you can see the 0 is basically the areas that are not visible by any of the location, right? How do I know that? Because if you right click on this layer and go to the attribute table, this is where it makes sense. So when it says observer 1, observer 2, we have 11 points. So this kind of lists zeros and ones, which areas are visible by which observer. That means which location. So what I did was that I right clicked on this count field and sorted by descending. So I've got the highest count on the top, which is all the observers are 0. That means these areas that are valued as 0 or coded as 0 are not visible from any of these locations, right? So I'm not interested in those locations. The second one, you can see where the count, these are the number of pixels, so kind of shows you the area is how much of this area, and that's the largest, second largest area that is visible from observer 8. Okay, so which one is observer 8? So I will go back to the select here. I'll right click on the select and go to the attribute table, and here this object ID is this observer number. So here I will see number 8 is desert viewpoint, so I'll double click and zoom to the layer. So this is the desert viewpoint here. So that's the one which has the largest amount of largest coverage of area visible. And so if I'm going back to the attribute table of the observer output, if I double click on this row, this one, you can see double click or single click, you can see this highlighted raster layer. So these are the areas that are visible from observer 8. The second one is this one from 3 locations that's visible, 1, 4, and 11. So if you go to the select table here, 1 would be the grandeur point, which is a peak. Then number 4 is a hermit, it's a trailhead. And then number 11, which is Cape Royal, which is a picnic area. So those are then potentially, second sites that are visible, and these are the areas where it's visible. So in this way you can provide your ranking of the best versus the second, the third ranking of the sites, potential sites for the new observation deck.